The settings can again be accessed via a command, so we add another slash here and now type settings. We can select the option up here. And now inside the settings menu, there are plenty of options available. To make this a bit more structured and not too overwhelming, I want to exclude some options at this stage of the course. These options include the selection of the model. As you can see, Midjourney comes with different models. Just using the latest default model, 5.2 in my case, is totally fine to get started. We'll have a closer look at Midjourney models and the differences in the next course module. Same thing applies to this raw mode and remix mode options, which we'll also skip for the moment. Generally, using the default settings in Midjourney is totally fine. So in case you played around here and want to go back to the default ones, you can always reset your settings down here. Next to this reset button, you can find different modes: relax, fast mode and turbo mode. The default mode is the fast mode. And if we again go back to the official documentation with the pricing, here inside the plans, we can find a dedicated amount of fast GPU time depending on the plan you are using. When using fast mode, which is the default mode, creating an image takes about 1 minute and consumes round about 1 minute also from your available fast GPU time of the specific month. If you change to turbo mode, consumption will double, so instead of using 1 minute of your time, it will consume 2 minutes, but at the same time, creating an image will only take round about 15 seconds. So that's the core difference between this fast and turbo mode. Turbo is faster, but takes about twice the amount of your fast GPU time. And if you run out of your fast GPU time, you will automatically switch to the relaxed GPU time for the standard plan and above. For the basic plan, you won't be able to create any new images, so you will have to purchase extra GPU time. So this is what this whole mode thing down here is all about. Variation mode is something we explored already when we had a look at the options we have for upscaled images. So very strong and very subtle for the upscaled image is the same thing you can set in your settings with low and high variation mode for the general variation options that you have once you initially created your grid. So when using these variation options, either high or low variations of the initial images will be created depending on your setting here. So variation mode is basically the vary option for entire grid, so to say. And finally, we have this stylize option here, which is set to medium by default. And to make things a bit more interesting, I'll now set stylize to low first, and now add a new prompt. I want to have a cute dog wearing a hat and sunglasses. So this is the stylize low version now, which is again added as parameter to our prompt. And now I can simply go to my options once again and set stylize to very high. And if I now change the option and regenerate this image, it will still use the stylize low option because our regeneration is still based on this initial prompt and therefore also on these initial settings. So in this case, regenerate won't work. So instead, in this case, I have to copy paste my prompt, which I can do now. So now I'll run this again. And this time, you see we have this stylize 750 parameter. Here in this case, we had stylize 50. This was the low stylize level. And I think with this example, the impact of the stylize option becomes quite obvious. The lower the stylize value, the closer Midjourney follows your prompt. So we simply have a dog wearing a hat and sunglasses. This hat is a bit more fancy, but besides that, we have a pretty simple background, simple hat, and simple sunglasses. But with the highly stylized option, we see this fancy hat in here. We have these flowers here also in the background. We have this very fancy hat also right here. We have these orange sunglasses. So the stylized option simply defines how much additional fluff, so to say, Midjourney adds around the initial prompt. So if you want to stay close to your prompt and don't want Midjourney to be too creative, so to say, you simply use the low or medium stylize option. If things should be a bit more crazy, you can go to stylize high or stylize very high. I'll simply go back to my initial settings here because I think the default settings are pretty fine for many use cases. So with that, if we once again open our settings to have these here at the bottom, we had a look at many options, but now I want to dive into this public mode here.